I believe evolutionary leaders and leadership is the most important movement now happening on planet Earth. And what an evolutionary leader is, in the deepest sense of it, is picking up the impulse of creation that's been going through for billions and billions of years, from nothing at all to create energy, matter, life, animal life, human life, and now human life has hit a crisis point. And it's the first time in the history of any species where a species becomes aware of its own evolution and becomes aware that by its own actions it's affecting its own evolution. And the negative signals are it could affect its evolution to the detriment of life on Earth, or it could use its power of consciousness and creativity and innovation and science and technology to evolve a world equal to our deepest potential. And an evolutionary leader, wherever they may be, is one motivated like that. And it's a new category. And in my understanding of evolutionary leaders, because every field is experiencing emergence, as well as breakdown of old structures, whether it be the religious structures, the corporate structures, the university structures, political structures, within every one of those fields, there is emerging leadership, innovation, creativity, and they have certain qualities in common that I don't think we've ever brought ourselves together to see what are the qualities that make one capable of attuning to what yet hasn't happened, to feel such an enormous hope about it, and even more than just hope, feels the genuine yearning to participate the whole way in giving your gift. And a passion to express your unique part of the whole. And the evolutionary leaders are a first collection that was brought together by Diane Williams and a couple of other people, and Emily has played a very strong role in this, for the Synergy Foundation. That's what we're talking about. Diane's organization. Soul of Synergy Foundation brought us together. Deepak Chopra was the first person to collectively invite us. We went down to La Costa. We had an amazing time, and there we all were, and we found each other. Because almost every evolutionary leader has been a pioneer on their own. And the yearning for community and communion and fellowship among people who are stepping forward out of every single field that we have, almost always being pioneers and not fully recognizing that there's a connectivity on all those pioneers. And perhaps the evolutionary leaders, it is not perhaps, it is the first group I have ever been with as one of those pioneering souls, where every single person in that group is motivated by this passion to express unique life purpose on behalf of the evolution of something. And there was one time recently when one of my passions is mapping and tracking. I like to map. Well, so I said, I had a little morning session, and the idea was that each one of these leaders would have to stand up. It's very hard for us to get together because we're all leaders. So the first thing I said was, let's go around, that maybe 50 people, 40 people at the room, and Steve and Diane was sitting next to me on a computer. If each person would just stand up briefly, it's sort of what we were talking about. Tell me your name again. Voice.
Lynn.
Lynn. Well, give voice to the passion that's motivating you to give your life for something that's emergent. And could you state in 1 minute what that is? We went around one after the other for about an hour while Stephen took notes and tried to categorize what functional categories that people naturally are part of. And there was one man there, who's been trying very hard to create global citizens. I'll think of his name in a minute.
Mark Gerson.
Mark Gerson, that's it. Mark Gerson was there working about collective global citizenship. And what happened after we saw the connection of all these leaders is that the global citizenry, when we all share our life purpose and go into those functional areas where we naturally express ourselves, we could see the emerging world in our midst. You could actually get a glimmer of it by this process, even though it's not like we thought maybe we'd have to do one project, but it's really still too diverse for that. But the fellowship and the communion and the community, and then the communication into the larger world. We did, where is this called to consciousness? This one. We put this out and about 50,000 people responded. They want to know what to do about the call for conscious evolution. And we realized that the program that would even make that feasible to respond to the number of people who would like to participate more fully in expressing their voice, it's the makings of the new world, is right there. So Emily, this is the story of Emily. This group who has had some challenges in deciding on any one thing to do because there's also individual. Emily said, well, we're going to have a show at the Royce Hall at UCLA, and you're all going to participate, and I'm going to produce it. And Deepak, you will do this. Jean, you will do that. Barbara, you will do this. James O'D, you will do that. And we didn't pay attention to her for a while. But then she got us all backstage. And we realized she's the producer and we have to follow her. Because we didn't know really what to do. We didn't rehearse. We didn't do our things that we were supposed to do. So, but this is the thing about Emily. She took hold as a producer of these leaders. And she had it orchestrated to perfection. Was anybody there?
Yes, it was beautiful.
Wasn't that? It was really, really
It was a
beautiful.
great night.
And she was able, to have some spoke alone, some spoke in groups. Then we all stood up there, and I think there were, I don't know, how many people were there? About
Now, you mean in the audience?
yeah, a lot.
Thousands, right?
Yeah, 1,000 at least.
I remember it was an incredible part. It was a huge audience. And I remember when I had my chance to speak, and I stood right there at the edge, and there was this sea of faces all wanting to know how to create a new world. It's really a marvelous thing, and Emily helped us to produce this event that I think is the first time that evolutionary leaders have been able to share to a large audience what evolutionary leadership and it's leadership for the emerging world and how people could participate. So what I really feel is the importance of what you're doing here tonight is having people support evolutionary leaders. And just about everyone that I've talked to is an evolutionary leader who's in this room, or you wouldn't even be here. It's just to say that I cannot think of a more important thing to do. And I believe that we are at the threshold of a planetary movement now. And from an evolutionary point of view, crises precedes transformation. Problems are evolutionary drivers. Nature takes jumps through greater synergy, whole, greater than the sum of the parts. And we are, as a collective emergent humanity, anyone who is motivated by that inner impulse to be more, to create more, to love more, to innovate more, we are, I believe, are at the point of social synergy. That's a boring word for love, community, communion, and co-creation. And what this gathering is tonight is an example of that. And everywhere I go, and I just wanted to show you these two things too. I'm reading Steve McIntosh's excellent book, Evolution's Purpose. And he's going through the whole scientific understanding of interpretation of evolution to demonstrate that there is an innate purpose in the evolution of our consciousness, the evolution of our species. And in my book, Birth 2012 and beyond, we're saying let's all convene and join together to show up in convergence on December 22nd, 2012, with a celebration of what's being born, what's emergent, what's created. And we have 12 members of the welcoming committee, many of whom are evolutionary leaders, and we want to invite everybody to be part of this. So I guess I want to say, in conclusion, the connecting and communion and communication of this emerging community of humanity that is motivated from within by the impulse, is a spiritual impulse that manifests itself in expression, in voice, in creative action, are the pioneers. We are the leaven in the loaf of the body politic. It's rising. And only the people in whom it's rising could possibly create a world that is uprising. I mean, who else could do it? So I guess I would just like to thank you for your support of Evolutionary Leaders and to be open to any questions or comments. Is that right, Emily?
Yes.
For a few minutes? Yes. Okay.
I've read from various people that some people believe there's a percentage of the population that kind of needs to consciously be on board to effectuate an actual change in the path we're on. Do you think that?
There are several different kinds of estimates. Somebody, I believe with Maharshi, said square root of 1% in TM, because he was very interested in the deeper meditation could shift a system. So that's one thought. Another thought from Ken Wilber is that he estimates about 5% of the people are now in what he calls second-tier consciousness. Second-tier people can include all of it, and they respect the better part of all of it, but they do not say, I am only that. They see the system as a whole. And Ken's estimate is that there are about 5% of humanity now who are veering toward second tier or whole system consciousness or evolutionary consciousness. And if it could get to another 5%, 10% would then be a shift point, is his estimate. In the work that we're doing with Shift Network and Birth 2012, Stephen Dinan and our event producer, which we hope all of you will do something with, is wanting to give 100 million people on the planet feeling an experience of awakening and connecting together. HeartMath, you familiar with HeartMath? They have a big project on global resonance and heart coherence. The head of HeartMath told me that his estimate is that our life support system could go. Therefore, nature has to have built in a quicker way for the evolutionary positive impulse to happen. It can't be just in a linear manner. So the nervous system, I think, has come in just in time to be infused with this kind of impulse in all of our communications, our writings, our work, and our planetary celebrations, so that we could experience in our lifetime what it feels like to have a consciousness shift on planet Earth. We're right at a point of having to test out because we could destroy ourselves. My own intuition is that we're right at the threshold of that law of complexity consciousness shifting us towards let's see, a communion of those already moving to higher consciousness. So it's not everybody has to change. It's the ones that are changing need to be in communion. From my own deepest intuition about nature, it's enough. That nothing is missing.
Wow.
Everything we need is given. If we are aware of the evolutionary potential, and I think if we could mature as evolutionary leaders of this movement,